This morning at exactly 8 a.m., the unthinkable happened. The school where Captain Ibrahim Traoré once studied, the place that shaped his childhood, his discipline, his values, was brutally attacked. 5 innocent students lost their lives. The air was filled with fear. But what followed shook the entire nation. Morning sunlight had just touched the rooftops of Ouagadougou. Children hurried into classrooms, laughter echoing through the gates. It was supposed to be an ordinary school day, but destiny had written something darker. At 8 a.m., the sound of books and chalk was replaced by chaos. Armed men stormed through the school compound. Their boots crushed the soil where generations of Burkina Faso children had walked. Panic erupted. Teachers shouted, "Run! Run!" Students screamed, scattering across hallways. Gunfire shattered windows. Dust and fear filled the classrooms. In the middle of this horror, 5 young lives were cut short. Dreams ended before they even began. A boy who wanted to be a doctor, a girl who dreamed of teaching, a child who loved football, another who carried books taller than himself, and one who had only started school last month, all gone in a matter of seconds. The news spread like wildfire across Burkina Faso. Phones buzzed, radios interrupted programs, mothers fainted, fathers clenched their fists. And in the presidential office, Captain Ibrahim Traoré froze. This was not just any school. It was his school, the same classrooms where he once sat, the same blackboards he once stared at, the same playground where he ran as a boy, now soaked with blood. Traoré's face turned pale. His ministers watched in silence. The president slowly stood up. His voice trembled, but his spirit did not. "They touched my childhood," he said. "They touched our future. This is beyond politics. This is war." Military convoys rushed to the scene. Sirens screamed across the capital. The school was surrounded. Soldiers carried the wounded. Mothers ran barefoot into the gates, crying out their children's names. The bodies of the 5 victims were laid in white cloth. The nation wept. But in those tears was also fire. Fire of anger. Fire of resistance. Fire of unity. Captain Traoré arrived personally. Cameras captured his eyes, red, wet, and furious. He bent down and touched the blood-stained soil. Whispers spread. "The captain is here." He placed his hand over one of the small coffins. "Forgive me, children," he whispered. "You should have been safe." The crowd stood in silence. Soldiers clenched their rifles. Mothers sobbed louder. Then Traoré stood tall. His voice roared like thunder. "You can kill our children, but you cannot kill our spirit. You can burn our schools, but you cannot burn knowledge. And you can attack us, but you will never defeat us." The crowd erupted. Cries of "Vive le Burkina" filled the air. Soldiers raised their guns high. Teachers held hands. The people found strength in his words. But behind that strength, Traoré's heart was heavy. He remembered his childhood desk, the smell of chalk, the laughter of classmates. He remembered how education shaped him, and now others would never have that chance. He swore silently, "This cannot happen again." Investigations began immediately. The attackers had vanished into the shadows, but their footprints, their bullets, their cruelty remained. The Burkina Faso intelligence network was mobilized. Traoré himself ordered, "Bring me their names." He refused to hide behind walls. He went to the hospital to see survivors. A little girl held his hand, whispering, "I was so scared." Traoré fought back tears. "You are safe now," he said gently, "and I promise you, you will study again." Teachers gathered in emergency meetings. Should schools close? Should classes stop? Fear hung in the air. But one teacher stood up. "If we close schools, they win. If we stop teaching, they win. We must continue even with our pain." The teachers agreed. They would return, with courage, with resilience. The next day, soldiers guarded every school gate. Parents walked their children inside. Fear was still there, but so was pride, so was defiance, so was hope. The funerals of the 5 children became a national moment. Flags lowered, bells tolled. The coffins were small, but the grief was enormous. Traoré himself carried one, his military uniform stained with tears and dust. Thousands walked behind him. It was not just a funeral, it was a march of resistance. The people were saying, "We will not be broken." International media rushed to report. Some spoke of tragedy, others of bravery. Headlines read, "Burkina Faso mourns but does not bow." Traoré vows justice for slain students. Education under attack. Burkina fights back. In the following weeks, something remarkable happened. Donations poured in, from farmers, traders, and workers. Parents volunteered to rebuild classrooms. Students painted walls with new colors. The school slowly rose again, brighter, stronger, and guarded. Traoré returned once more. This time, the gates welcomed him with flowers, not blood. Children sang the national anthem. The captain raised his fist. "They thought they destroyed us," he declared, "but they only made us stronger." The new building was named the School of Martyrs, to honor the 5 fallen children, their names carved in stone, their stories taught in lessons, their memory eternal. Burkina Faso had been wounded but not defeated, and through the tears a powerful truth was born. Education is stronger than bullets, hope is louder than fear, and a nation that refuses to bow cannot be conquered. From that day on, the school bell at 8 a.m. carried new meaning. It was not just a signal to begin classes, it was a reminder of sacrifice, a reminder of resilience, a reminder of 5 little souls who lit a fire in the heart of a nation. The investigation began with urgency. Intelligence units tracked every clue. Bullet casings were analyzed, footprints near the walls were photographed. Witnesses described masked men. "They came on motorbikes," one teacher said. "Their eyes had no mercy," whispered another. The pieces of the puzzle slowly came together. Traoré held nightly meetings with his generals. Maps spread across tables. Dots marked villages, borders, escape routes. "They want to break our spirit through fear," he told them, "but we will break their strength with unity." Silence filled the room. Every officer nodded. Orders were signed. Operations were launched. Burkina Faso was on the hunt. In the villages, whispers grew louder. "The attackers are hiding near the forest. They were seen at the old mine." Rumors turned into leads, leads into missions, and missions into battles. Soldiers marched at dawn. Helicopters hovered above. Every gun carried was heavier now, carried not just for defense, but for justice. "For the 5 children," the soldiers whispered. Each bullet had meaning. Each step carried anger. Each heart carried pain. Meanwhile, inside the city, mothers gathered in groups. They lit candles at the school gate. Their prayers echoed through the night. One mother said, "My child is gone, but I will not let others suffer the same fate." Another whispered, "Let their blood be the last blood spilled here." Their grief became fuel for the nation's resilience. The United Nations issued statements. Foreign powers expressed deep concern. But Traoré responded firmly, "We don't need condolences, we need action. If you stand with us, prove it." His words struck like lightning in diplomatic halls. Burkina Faso was not begging. Burkina Faso was demanding respect. Weeks passed. The investigation identified the group behind the attack, a network of foreign-backed mercenaries. Their mission: destabilize education, sow fear, weaken the youth. But their plan had backfired. Instead of breaking Burkina Faso, they had awakened it. A national rally was called. Tens of thousands filled the capital's streets. Children held banners. "We will study." Parents shouted, "We will resist." Teachers raised chalk as symbols of defiance. The air was electric with unity. Captain Traoré stood on the podium. His uniform gleamed under the sun. His fist rose high. "Our children are not weapons of war," he thundered. "Our schools are not battlegrounds. Our future will not be stolen." The crowd roared like a lion. Burkina Faso had spoken. That night, Traoré visited the families of the victims. In small homes under dim lights, he sat on mats with grieving parents. He ate with them. He cried with them. He listened to their stories. A father said, "My boy wanted to be a pilot." A mother whispered, "My daughter loved singing." Traoré bowed his head. "Their dreams will live through us," he promised. In response, the government launched a new initiative, a scholarship fund in the names of the 5 children. Free education for hundreds of students, textbooks distributed across villages, new schools planned in rural areas. The nation turned pain into progress. The school itself became a symbol, its walls painted with murals of the fallen. One mural showed children holding books against bullets. Another depicted a sun rising over Burkina Faso. Students touched the walls before entering class. For them, they whispered. Every lesson became an act of resistance. Traoré visited once more, months later. He entered a classroom. Children stood and saluted. Their voices sang loudly. "Burkina Faso, land of pride." The captain smiled through his sorrow. "Study hard," he told them, "because knowledge is our strongest weapon." The attackers thought they had won, but Burkina Faso had turned their cruelty into courage, their violence into vision, their darkness into light. Generations will remember that day. The day fear entered a school, but also the day courage filled a nation. On anniversaries, bells ring at 8 a.m. sharp, not to mark tragedy, but to honor resilience. Teachers bow their heads, students close their eyes. The names of the 5 children are read aloud, and then the lessons begin. Life moves forward, but memory never fades. Their sacrifice became a seed. From that seed grew strength, and from that strength grew a nation unbreakable. Captain Traoré often returns to the site alone. At night, when the city is quiet, he stands before the memorial stone. His hand rests upon it. His lips move silently. A prayer, a vow, a promise. "As long as I breathe," he whispers, "Burkina Faso will never bow." The stars above bear witness. The wind carries his words, and the earth beneath remembers. 5 little souls may have left this world, but they left behind something eternal, a fire that cannot be extinguished. This fire burns in classrooms, in textbooks, in the chalk of teachers, in the laughter of students, in the strength of parents, and in the courage of a leader. The attack at 8 a.m. was meant to destroy. Instead, it created a revolution of resilience, a revolution that echoes across Africa, a revolution that says, "We will not kneel to fear. We will not surrender to violence. We will fight with knowledge, unity, and hope." And so, the story is not one of defeat. It is a story of rebirth, a story of strength, a story of Burkina Faso, a story written in courage, a story the world will never forget, a story born at 8 a.m. when tragedy became triumph.